Welcome to A Minute with Alan. This episode is called Buck. Buck was our first dog, our first of 8 dogs. We got him from my brother-in-law when he moved to Texas and couldn't take Buck with him. And this was back in, the early 1980s, I believe. Buck was a purebred Siberian Husky. Beautiful dog, but Huskies are not the brightest bulbs. I'm sorry, they're not getting into Mensa. And so, Buck stayed with us for quite a while. He lived to 17, ultimately. And he was stubborn as hell. He ran away whenever he could, and he didn't just run away. He'd run down the center line of the street. So that's the way he was, and we loved him. One day, Buck seemed very, very depressed. He wasn't moving around too much. He was moaning a bit, and my wife said, "Take him to the vet." And so I took Buck to the vet, and he sat down. Now, in those days, you didn't make an appointment with the vet. It was first come, first serve. Benches were around the perimeter of the room. People sat there with their dogs, a few cats, an occasional parrot. Buck sits down at my feet and starts to moan. And I'm keeping track of where we are in the queue. And suddenly Buck lets out this unearthly howl, stands up, and pees. Pees quarts, pees buckets, pees barrels. All over the floor. People lifted up their small pets. The larger pets jumped up on the benches. And then people raised their feet. The staff rushes out with buckets and mops and everything else. The vet opens the door to the examination room, sees what's going on. He says to me, "You better get in here." So Buck and I go in there, and he puts Buck on one of these automated, elevated, lifts thing. And now Buck is sitting there going like this. The vet looks in his eyes. He looks in his mouth, puts a stethoscope to his chest. He says, "This dog's in perfectly fine health." I said he was moaning and groaning. He was lethargic. He says, "Yeah, he had to pee." I said, "Wait a minute. He knew he had to pee but didn't pee?" He said, "Huskies are not that bright." He was probably preoccupied. I said, "Well, thank God he's okay." The vet says, here's a paper. Go to the desk. You check out. Now, it was a bill for $75. Now, back in the 80s, $75 is equivalent to $225 today. And I didn't have much money back then. I said, $75, you didn't do anything. The vet says, "Is your dog better?" And you know what? Value-based fees were born.